happens.
All right, so we were recording the first time.
That's okay. We're moving. It's good. It's good.
Okay, so today we are talking about the Ketotarian diet, and we did a little trial a couple weeks ago where we both tried it. We are both registered dietitians. Mm-hmm. I'm Megan.
I'm Kate.
And we're just here to talk to you about that today.
Yeah. So Ketotarian, it's fairly new. It's kind of a spin-off of the traditional ketogenic diet. But it's different because this one, it marries veganism and ketogenic together. So instead of just eating a lot of meat, dairy, cheese, oil, things like that, Dr. Will Cole, the creator of the Ketotarian diet, emphasizes a plant-based diet that he claims to have the same ketogenic effects, essentially putting you in ketosis.
So I think my first thoughts when I came across this diet was, great, one way to make an even more restrictive diet more restrictive.
Right.
Like, okay, so let's take something where keto, where you can't eat 99% of foods that are out there, and then make it even more restrictive.
Yep.
So those were my first thoughts. But then I started looking through the book and seeing some of the recipes, and it's like, okay, this looks like a pretty balanced, healthy way to eat. So then that's kind of why I decided to give it a try.
Agreed. The recipes do look really good. I mean, that's what sold me on it. I mean, it does include eggs and fish if you want to. Really emphasizes the fatty fish. So you didn't have to do that version. I chose to do eggs and fish. I believe you did too. Yeah. But really, it's just the plant-based fats. And the things that are really high in plant-based fats are going to be coconut oil, avocados, avocado oil, olive oil, olives. If you can sense a pattern there.
Yep. Lots of avocados. Mm-hmm. Lots of avocados in my life for that week.
And it has some health claims that he said that made it better than the typical ketogenic diet. He says it would improve your cognitive function, decrease inflammation. He even had some claims that it would normalize PCOS symptoms, help your metabolism, shifting to that fat burning state rather than that carbohydrate burning state. Even though it did have a decent amount of carbohydrates in it because you were allowed to eat vegetables. Yeah.
So, my big question, did you get into ketosis?
I had the strips and I couldn't get into ketosis. I know you did, though. I think I was eating too many vegetables, to be honest.
I did once, or twice throughout the entire process. 2 times I tested and was in ketosis, but that didn't last very long, and I honestly think it was more from fasting the night before and the amount of time that I went without eating, and less from the actual food. Gotcha. So, I don't know that the name I don't know if it's the right name for this, because if your goal is to truly to get into ketosis, do you think that people can do that long term?
I don't think so. I mean, people have done it. The average Joe probably can't maintain ketosis living a normal life. I'm not saying it's not possible. People do it. And people love it. There's obviously some kind of appeal for some people. This one is even more restrictive, in my opinion, than the typical ketogenic diet. So unless they're just eating a lot of oils, plant-based oils, I think it has to be about 70 to 80% of their diet of plant-based oils, which is hard to do, especially when you don't get any dairy in there to eat that high of fat. I don't think it could be very long-term.
The one thing that I did really like about it versus your traditional ketogenic diet is the emphasis that they do place on greens and vegetables. Because I would say for most of my clients that have come in that have either tried keto without seeing a dietitian or thinking about keto, they're mostly thinking about bacon. They're thinking about bacon, they're thinking about butter, and they'll come in and if they're tracking what they eat to make sure they're getting enough fat, it'll be like 2 Wendy's cheeseburgers without the bun, and I had bacon and eggs for breakfast, and I'm like, well, you're literally getting no fiber, you're getting no greens, we need to be able to, they're like, but those have carbs, I'm taking up carbs by eating those things, and so I think the mind shift I like with this, whereas you're putting a lot more emphasis on the types of foods you're eating versus just hitting some specific number.
Yep, exactly. He did emphasize putting greens into every single meal. Every single recipe on here had a lot of vegetables in it. He did get a slightly restrictive with some vegetables, which I understand because if you're going to go into ketosis, you can't be eating the vegetables that have a less amount of net carbs, because that's where his angle was. He says, okay, what counts is the net carbohydrates, which means when you take the total amount of carbohydrates and subtract the fiber, that gives you net carbs. So some things he would say not to eat, like carrots, for instance, or not too many onions, in fact. Yeah. So that part was a little bit restrictive, but overall, I agree. I liked that there was a lot of fiber, a lot of nutrition. There also wasn't much fruit that was allotted.
Yeah. So how long did you do this total?
I did it for 7 days.
7 days, yeah. I got a text from a friend who's at FNCE right now. FNCE is our national food and nutrition conference, so it's where all the dietitians descend on one city for a week-long conference, and she said that she just did a Ketotarian. She was in a Ketotarian in a ketogenic presentation, and the presenter said that you need about 2 to 4 weeks for your body to really be able to start producing ketones and stay in that zone. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting, and I haven't done that. I would say maybe 2-ish weeks I was doing it for. So maybe doing it longer, your body would maybe get into ketosis. Yeah. I'm not sure.
It could. I'm pretty sure, I think Dr. Will Cole, he recommended doing it for 60 days. Okay. It was 6 to 8 weeks or something. That's what he said that you needed to do. And then you could kind of manipulate the diet to see how many carbs you can get away with while being in ketosis. So I think for the average consumer, the average person that doesn't know about nutrition, this could be a really confusing approach. Because even at times for me, I was kind of like, okay, now wait, what can I have? Yeah. Which again, I know you feel the same way. You don't like those restrictions where you feel like, can I have this much? Do I get allowed this much? Yeah. So that was a con for me with this diet, that it was restrictive and it made me feel like I had to be counting everything I ate. I don't do all that.
Yeah, I think overall when it comes to whether it's this book, this Ketotarian way of eating, or whether it's strict ketosis or being vegan or vegetarian or whatever it is, I think you can kind of take the principles from that and decide what are the principles from this that are really going to benefit me for the long haul. So if those principles are, I started putting kale in my eggs in the morning and I usually just wouldn't take the time to do that. Yeah. If I can continue something like that, regardless of whether I'm trying to get into ketosis or not, I think that's the way that you can kind of do it for the long haul versus just do this for 60 days or just do this for a week.
And there were a lot of principles I took away from doing the Ketotarian diet and things that I could even help clients use. So for somebody that is very sedentary, who doesn't work out very much, who works a desk job and finds that they're always hungry or battling cravings, this diet definitely helped me. At least I had no cravings. I didn't have that 3 to 4 p.m. sugar craving, that drive to snack on something. Is because I was eating such a high-fat breakfast and lunch, I just didn't even want food. And so I'm continuing to do that. I make sure that my lunches have a little bit more fat in them, not to the extent that he recommended, because it did almost give me a little bit of discomfort. And, when I do exercise, it didn't help me or serve me in that purpose, but it did help me feel like, okay, I can eat a meal and be satisfied for hours. I don't need to have a snack 2 to 3 hours later.
Yeah, so instead of kind of feeling chained to like, I need a snack, I need a snack, I need a snack, I need to make sure there's something in my purse, I need to make sure there's something in my desk, doing something like this made you feel like you were more confident that, all right, I had this meal, that's going to last me for a long time, I'll be good until lunchtime kind of rolls around.
Yep, absolutely. It was nice, like, coming home from work and not feeling hangry in traffic. Not sitting there like, oh, I need to get home, because I felt fine. My blood sugars definitely were much more steady, because, that's just what happens when you eat low carb.
Yeah. I think one of the things that messed with my head a little bit is just putting any kind of restriction on what I'm eating. And so I had done another experiment right before this with the carnivore diet. So I went right from like carnivore diet into this, and I couldn't wait until it was over so I could just be like, I'm just going to eat like a normal person again, and I'm going to ask myself what I actually want to eat and then eat it. On the other hand, though, doing something like the carnivore or the Ketotarian, it takes a lot of things off the table. So whereas I might be sitting here like, oh, I'm going to eat this snack that someone brought in for me. If I can't have carbs, like, I'm not going to eat that. Yeah. So I don't know if the benefits that you get from following something like this are just from restricting your calories overall, because there's food just not as exciting when you can't eat what you want.
Yeah. And how liberating did it feel when you could, like, eat again anything that you wanted?
I still had a shitload of avocado on a piece of toast, but still, like, I had my piece of toast. Like, I had my, like, sprouted grain bread.
Best tasting toast ever of all time.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And, like, other things that were restricted in that time frame that I feel like are super healthy for me. Like, I love green juice. Like, I love making my own green juice with whatever I have in my fridge, and I put an apple in there to sweeten it up. Couldn't have that on either of those. And so I felt like I was missing out on nutrition that I could be getting if I just didn't have those restrictions.
Yeah. I wouldn't ever really want to recommend anybody restrict a diet, and I was gonna think, I tried to be open-minded before I did this, like, okay, well, maybe this could be something, like, going into it open-minded that somebody could benefit from. And I agree that there's principles that, might work for some people.
Yeah.
But overall, I would never, ever want to put somebody on a Ketotarian diet just for the sake of weight loss or decreasing inflammation. There's other ways to do that, especially if this person is active and trying to incorporate fitness in their life at all. I don't think a super high-fat diet is really ideal right off the bat.
Yeah. I think that if you're trying to figure out what's going to work best for you when it comes to nutrition, obviously seeing a dietitian is going to be the number one thing, because they're going to take the time to get to know you, figure out what kind of principles that they can take from all these different things and apply them to your life. Now, if you can't afford that, or there's not a dietitian in your area, or for whatever reason you don't want to go that route, buying something like a book like this, but taking the lens of like, all right, I don't have to follow every single rule in here, but hey, this roasted broccoli recipe looks really good. Just doing some kind of planning ahead where maybe you're taking some of the recipes and you're saying, all right, so for the next 6 dinners, I'm going to pick some different things from there, and I'm going to do that. I think that's a great way of looking at it. Don't look at it as, all right, I'm starting this diet today. I'm going to be doing it for the next 3 weeks, and I can only eat things that are in this book. But if you can take it and kind of apply it to your life, I think that's the healthiest way to go
absolutely.
about it.
And that's going to help your body. That's going to serve you and serve your purpose. Whereas restricting and telling yourself you have to do something always backfires in the end. I mean, your brain wants what it can't have. I mean, if you look at it from any perspective in life, you always want what you can't have.
Oh my God, I wanted Gideon's cookies so bad. If you're in the Orlando area, you've not had a Gideon's cookie, go there right now.
Seriously.
But they're these chocolate chip cookies that are like this big and that high, and that's what I wanted the entire time.
Yeah.
But now, like, you know what? I hadn't had one. I didn't have one throughout that whole time. And honestly, I can have one now, and I haven't. So for whatever reason, like, I didn't realize this until right now. Like, I've been able to have one for weeks. We've been done with this, and I haven't gone over there. So I think that was kind of in my head, is like, you can't have this. You really want it. It seemed like that's all that was coming up in my feed, were people with Gideon's cookies, but maybe that wasn't the case. Yeah.
That's so funny you said. I had a blow pop in my desk drawer. And it sounds so stupid, but I was like, God, that looks so good. Like, it's a blow pop. Like,
yeah, no.
Couldn't have it.
So overall, did you see any benefit from doing it yourself?
Benefits, it helped my cravings. It definitely helped me. I definitely lost weight, but I know the weight was all water. I mean, that was kind of the mind trick of it. I was like, dang, I woke up and I had a flat stomach, and even before bed, I was like, all right, like, how am I going to bed feeling as lean as I did when I woke up? Right when I started eating again, I'm kissed those benefits goodbye.
Yeah.
So that's something that, people need to be aware of. When you do decrease carbohydrates, your body's not holding on to that water. You're going to see a decrease in bloat. That's going to happen for most people. Got to remember that.
Definitely messes with your head.
Definitely, it totally messes with your head. So you got to keep that in mind. It's not body fat you're losing completely if you drop. I mean, I think I dropped like 5 pounds in that week.
Yeah, that's what happened when I did the carnivore. It was a day. It was like a day to 2 days, and so I get on the scale just to kind of monitor throughout this process and this experiment, and it's like, I could totally see people this happening and then being like, this is working, but it's just water that your cells hold on to when you eat carbohydrates. It's just a part of science. It's just science. It's just science. Life. And as soon as you eat carbs again, your body's going to take on that water back, and that's okay. Like, that's normal. That's what it's supposed to do. Yep, exactly.
It does it for you.
It's, the scale is not just how much fat's on your body. It's how much have you had to drink today? Did you go to the bathroom today? It's your muscle. There's so many other things that it's weighing, not just how much fat's on your body.
What about you? What were your big takeaways?
Let's see. Big takeaways. I can eat avocado by itself. So I used to like, it has to like be on something, but I would just like, break up that avocado, put some lime on it, and I would just eat that by the bowl, which I do like what it did with my mind there, because before I would kind of think like, oh, I can't eat a whole avocado. There's like 350 calories in a whole, or 400 calories in this whole avocado. Ooh, like so much fat. But now I don't think about it in that way at all. It's just like, this is this healthy thing that I'm eating, and I'm not really worried about it. So I did like that. I was definitely more liberal with the amount of olive oil, avocado oil, things like that I was using even on vegetables, because I think the immediate reaction is like, oh, just put a little bit on there, but I wasn't doing that at all. Yeah. They do taste better, so I'm still doing that.
Right? Yeah, honestly, that was a big like mental barrier for me. It's like it said like would add 2 tablespoons of coconut oil to a skillet of vegetables. So I was like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, really? But that's what you need. If you're trying to get in ketosis, you need to be eating tons of fat. I mean, putting butter in your coffee, or, you know, he was like the ghee, putting the ghee in your coffee, or the MCT oils and things like that. You need all of that fat to get in ketosis. So that is like a mental, what's the word?
It's like a block that you had. Like, oh, I don't need to be adding more just to add more. Like, how do I eat less? Yeah. But this is like add more, add more, add more. So I think overall thoughts.
Glad I tried it. There are things I agree with, that his claims. I agree that it can help curb cravings. It seemed to reduce inflammation because I was eating lots of vegetables. I wasn't holding on to a lot of water. I felt good on it. I didn't feel good when I was working out, but he doesn't suggest high intensity activity.
I did not go to CrossFit while I was doing this.
There was a day
I didn't even attempt it.
Oh my god, you'd throw up.
No,
you're so full of fat. Like, throw up.
I didn't even attempt it.
No. So I wouldn't be quick to say this is a cure-all. It definitely has a lot of great things to it. I think out of all the fad diets I've ever read about, this one, it had a lot going for it. But like with any fad diet, you gotta take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
You know.
I think, like I said, the overall is what principles can you take from this and put into your real life that you can continue for the long haul. And for me, it's eat a ton of vegetables. Yeah. And I think that's one thing that pretty much every diet or proponent can agree on, other than the carnivore people right now. But most of us are telling you eat more vegetables. And I think that's a principle from this that you can kind of take. And so if you're someone who you don't have that one-on-one interaction with the dietitian and you're looking for something to kind of put you on the right track or to just kind of give yourself a little bit of structure, this might not be a bad idea. But if you're going into it like, I'm going to be in ketosis, I'm going to be in ketosis the whole time, and this is how I'm going to do it, and I'm already plant-based, and I already have all these restrictions, and this is just another way to add more restrictions to yourself, that's not a good idea. Yep,
agreed. Restricting is never the best idea.
Yeah. Okay, so that's our thoughts on the Ketotarian diet. We will also make this into a blog post, and if you have any questions, you can find us at orlandodietitian.com. I'm at orlandodietitian on Instagram. Those of you that are live already know that.
I'm at Dietitian Kate.
Okay, see you soon.
See you guys. Thanks for tuning in.